Perfect. Excellent. I want to officially welcome you all to my masterclass, The Hidden Unspoken Truth, revealing the untold truth about depression, anxiety, and trauma. And I'm really grateful that you've dedicated this time to show up so you can take all this information on board, so it can give you the knowledge, the empowerment, and inspire you on your journey, so you can feel informed about making decisions in regards to your emotional well-being and your mental well-being as well, because I feel that a lot of this information isn't openly talked about or shared, and I feel like a lot of people feel there's only one approach to handling our emotional well-being, especially around depression, anxiety, and trauma. And I work with a lot of people that they felt like they've been stuck for so long and they never felt like they had another option. And sharing this allows you to start getting curious and to take your power back in regards to what approach you want to have with your emotional well-being, and being able to be the healthiest, happiest version of yourself and overcoming your challenges and breaking free from your depression, anxiety, and healing from your past trauma. I'll just answer a message as I've got someone that wants to join, but she's having a few problems. So I'm just trying to help her with some technical issues. All right, so I'll give an introduction to myself in case you haven't come in contact with me or we haven't spoken and you're new. I know I can see a few new faces on the Zoom, so I love seeing new faces because it means that I'm creating the ripple effect. We're getting this information out, and that's really important because I'm all about creating the ripple effect and having this flow on to all areas of the world because it's so important. So I'm a master certified practitioner coach of neurotransformation therapy, and I'm a master certified practitioner of timeline therapy, along with a certified colon hydrotherapist. I'm trained in the most up-to-date knowledge and information on trauma, human behavior, psychology, and neuroscience, and understand at a deep level what drives human behavior, how the brain works, why people do what they do, and the relationship between the childhood trauma and your adult life. And it's fascinating how much comes back to our childhood, and the experiences that you've been through during your childhood. And it blows my mind when you do the deeper work and you start to put the dots together, how much in your present life is connected to your childhood. Like, we can be experiencing challenges in our adult life that consciously you don't realize can be linked back to our childhood, because as a child, we're like a blank iPod. We don't know the difference between right or wrong, and we just download everything as correct. In between the ages of 0 to 7, we take on other people's beliefs, we take on other people's projections, their traumas, their stories, and we then carry that, and it can affect us in our adult life, and it can contribute to feelings of depression, anxiety as an adult, and adult trauma as well. And that's why I'm so passionate in supporting individuals on their journey at healing from a root cause level, not just addressing the symptoms. So then once you look what's going on underneath the symptoms and you heal at a root cause level, you can heal your core wounds, break free from past trauma. And it happens by healing from a root cause, not just addressing the symptoms. It's getting curious and having the understanding and knowledge and having the support and the right person to help you see what's going on underneath the symptoms. So in this masterclass, I'm going to cover identifying the hidden triggers and root causes of depression and anxiety and trauma, cultivating a holistic approach to wellness that nurtures mind, body, soul, and spirit, and learn the proven steps and method to healing deep ingrained patterns and wounds and how you can clear your depression and anxiety, because it's linked back to trauma and our deep core wounds. So this masterclass will go for an hour, and then hopefully, like, you know, thereabouts, maybe a little, might 5 or 10 minutes longer, but I try to really keep it to the time that I set, because I value your time and you've gave up that time for this. So we'll try to stick to the time, and then I'll allocate that 10 minutes at the end for Q&A or to share your takeaways and stuff like that. How does that sound? If you want, you can give me a thumbs up in the chat, some love. So some people may find some of the things that I share a bit triggering, but if that is the case, I always say get curious, because our triggers are there to help us, they're to guide us, and it shows us that there's something deeper there that is wanting to be healed. So have an open mind and really take on board everything to start being curious, so you can start taking back the power of making the decisions in the past that you want to take with your emotional well-being and your mental well-being as well. Because I find that a lot of the time we only get educated the one way, and we only get that one option, but there's other ways to get your desired results, and there's proven ways as well. So this is just a little bit about my story, as I'll share more of this during the masterclass. But my journey really become conscious to me when I really started my journey in 2016. And it happened because my nan passed away on the anniversary of my mum's passing. And my mum passed away when I was 14. And at the time, no one really, I don't remember or recall anyone telling me how to deal with grief or what it's going to be like losing a parent. And everyone was so upset that if I spoke about how I was feeling, then it would make other people upset even more. So I downloaded the belief that, well, I don't want to make other people more upset, so I'm just going to not talk about how I'm feeling, because if I do, I make people cry. And that started me like numbing out, not speaking up. I was always a very timid child, and I would be very scared to speak up about my emotions or how I was feeling. So once that happened, I really struggled to feel safe to share how I was feeling, as me and my mum were very, very close. And I only really confided in her. And when she left, I didn't feel like I had the safe space to do that. So then I really struggled after that. And what eventually happened, which I didn't realize at the time, but because I wasn't being able to handle that grief and the loss and the pain that comes with it, after however long it was, my brain put a brick wall up and just blocked my memories out, and just blocked all my emotions out. And I just went into the go, 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 hustle, hustle, hustle. If I'm so busy, I don't have to think about it. I don't have to stop and digest and process what's gone on. And I didn't realize that that's what my brain done until my nan passed away. And that brick wall that I put up, it slowly started to come crumbling down, because all the memories that I blocked out, they were wanting to come forward, because my body was wanting to heal, and it was bringing everything up that I hadn't healed in the past. So it was like a double whammy. And being in the industry I was in, the racing industry, being a jockey at the time, it's a very male-dominated industry, and women already got looked down on for being weak. So if I showed emotion, then I would feel weak. So I wouldn't show any emotion that I was struggling. Like, I dealt with it all on my own behind closed doors, because if I showed anyone I was struggling, I would be I had the fear of being judged and being frowned upon because I was emotional, or she's so emotional, she's not, like, she's weak and stuff like that. So, and going on antidepressants at that moment wasn't an option. So I had to look at natural ways, because I wasn't coping myself. I just cry every day. Like, it wouldn't have to be anything to set me off. And I thought, I can't keep going like this. And that led me down the path of the holistic life, of what other options do I have? So I started using essential oils, which were incredible support, and I used them in my toolkit every day. And then I dove deeper into like gut health and what's going on in that area, because your gut's like your second brain. So if your gut isn't healthy and happy, your mind isn't either. And that was a lot of incredible learnings that I got from that. And that got me so far. And as I'll talk about during the masterclass, it got me so far, but then it came to a point in 2020 that I had to make a heart-wrenching decision to walk away from the industry that I had been in for 16 years. And that was such a hard thing to make that decision. And it was like the unknown. That's all I knew. And it was so scary to end that chapter. Like, what else is out there? It was an incredible, scary thing to sit in the fear of the unknown and the uncertainty. And I developed a lot of anxiety around what's next? What are people thinking? I couldn't go to the shops without like having anxiety, and it was horrible for any, like, obviously for those on the Zoom or watching the replay who've experienced and feel anxiousness and depression, like, you can relate. It's not a very nice thing. And then everything that I suppressed started to manifest and come out, and I needed another option. And that's what led me down the path of neurotransformation therapy, hiring a coach, doing timeline therapy and having a coach that worked with me. And it was an incredible, life-changing experience. It transformed my life. And that's why I went on and studied in that, because it was the missing key for me, and it was a natural way that I could heal, and the results were mind-blowing. I could never imagine the healing that occurred, and that's why I'm so passionate about helping others now, so they can have that, so they can get their life back and they can free themselves and feel joy in life again. And when you do the deeper inner healing work to heal what's going on at a root cause level, it's life-changing, and it frees you on an incredible level. That's why I'm so passionate about helping others now. And I find it's important because being able to relate to others is really, really important. And that's what I'm passionate about. When I work with clients, I want them to feel safe, and I want them to know that I can relate to what you're going through. Like, I've been through this. I've done the work, so I understand how you're going to feel every step of the way, if someone decides to work with me. And I think that's very powerful, to be able to hold that space for someone, and to be able to have that safe space so they feel comfortable, because it can be a hard thing when we're talking about our past traumas that we go through. And it's important that you've got that support there, and you connect well with that person that's holding that space for you as well. So after overcoming this myself and working with clients around the world to heal core wounds, break free from past trauma, clear depression and anxiety, I've discovered that no amount of synthetic medication is going to heal the root cause. Synthetic medication is just a Band-Aid approach. And I don't want anybody at all to ever, and I don't want people to think or take away from here feeling shameful or guilty for having synthetic medication, because there's a time and place for this. If it's going to keep someone safe and it's going to prevent them from doing something that's not undoable, then by all means, that's the path for you. But it should only be a short term. It should not be for the long term. And this is what I find. So many people, they they need that at that moment because they need to keep themselves safe and then and prevent them from hurting themselves or others. But then there's no real plan or steps in place to help them come off that. And they find themselves being on it for months, years, or even decades. And I'm very passionate about, showing you that there's another way. If there's a time and place you need that, then by all means have that. That's fine. But let's look at the alternate route to help you come off that and heal what's going on that's caused you to go on that medication as well. So and we all form an identity to the labels that we're given from society, from our conditioning, our programs, the stories we take on, the beliefs, and it keeps us stuck. And we can actually become addicted to the labels, and it can keep us living at effect and living in victim mindset, because we can form we go to the doctor and they look at what you've presented and they say, oh, you've got this. And they kind of just put you in a box, and then they give you a box of prescriptions, and you can then get stuck in that little bubble, and then it keeps you stuck. And if you break away from that, it's well, what's next? What's it going to be like if I don't have these labels and these stories? It can be scary, because that's kind of what you've been put into, and it's not you. And you can heal from that, and it's so powerful to be able to do that, because you're not your story, you're not the label that you've been given, and you're not the conditioning or the programming of your childhood either. You can find yourself and reconnect with yourself from doing the inner healing work, so you don't have all that constricting you. And then what we suppress manifests in the body. Under your physical symptoms are stored emotions and trauma that the body's locked in and wants to release. Their body is always wanting to heal itself. The mind and body are very powerful, and they're always wanting to heal. They're always looking to heal. And that's what happened to me, because I suppressed so much. Your body, you can only suppress so much before it's puts the red flag up and says, hey, we can't do this anymore. We need help. And it can give you a little flick, can give you a punch, and then it can give you the full-on train and slap you down and send you for 6. And normally that is when the bigger illnesses and cancers and stuff develop. But we're so disconnected from our bodies these days. We live such a fast-paced life, hustle, we can miss the signs before it becomes a big whammy, because we're not really in tune with our body. And a lot of the time we don't feel safe enough in our body to listen to ourselves. We second guess ourselves and question ourselves as well. So it's really important that we don't store emotions or trauma. We release them and heal them in a healthy way. And true healing lies in doing the inner healing work with your subconscious mind, because our conscious mind is controlled by our subconscious, because our subconscious mind controls 90 to 95% of our conscious mind. So if you're doing all the conscious work, your affirmations, your journaling, and thinking positive thoughts and things like that, but if your subconscious isn't in alignment, your subconscious will always override your conscious mind. So you're always going to get a imbalance. So being able to align your conscious and your subconscious is really powerful. And that's when the true transformation happens. Because if consciously you think, yeah, I'm good enough, I can handle this, I'm lovable, but you've got a core wound that says you're not lovable, that you're not worthy, and that you're not deserving, that is always going to override, and you're going to find it'll dictate how you feel, and then it can lead to like self-sabotage and abusing substances and not respect, like, and abusing your body as well with like the foods we put in it, and the fluids and things like that we do with our body as well. This is a testimonial for one of my previous clients. So working with Casey for me has been one of the better choices I've made for myself in a long time. You get to a certain age, you look back and realize that you've tried lots of different methods to help yourself along the journey. But I can honestly say it wasn't until I worked with Casey that I noticed a big difference using her approach. Also, others noticed a significant difference in me too. You have to show up, put in the work. It's challenging, but worth every minute. I actually believe in myself in a way I never thought possible. Even saying that is a testament in itself. We can move forward. You've got this. Yes, you. She had incredible results, this lady. She couldn't even, she had severe depression and anxiety, and she'd be stuck in bed, and would shut herself away from her family and her children, and now her life's completely changed. She's applying and studying to be a teacher's aide now, which is incredible. I love being able to share the hope with others, because so often if we get in such a low, dark place, we can lose hope. But sometimes that's the spark that lights the fire to keep you going on this journey. So I will be offering a free 30-minute call with me for anybody who's on this masterclass, so I can customize this information for you, or if you want to continue the journey and see how this information can be tailored to you, so then you can heal your core wounds, break free from past trauma, clear your depression and anxiety by healing at the root cause. I will be offering that call. If you are wanting that, I'll put the link in the chat and then you can book that. And it's not a sales call, it's simply to see if this program's for you, if this is something that is the right thing for you at this time. If it's not, then you'll just get more customized, personalized information for you on your journey. So either way, you're gonna get some extra information. So then if you've got a pen and paper to take some notes, we'll get into the training. So what is trauma? So trauma is what happened inside of you as a result of what happened to you. Trauma is an unwanted emotional shock or an emotional response to a situation, event, or experience which you didn't have a strategy to process fully. Your brain didn't have a strategy to process the emotion at the time, and or your brain didn't feel safe enough to process the emotion fully. So your nervous system locked in an unwanted emotion and negative belief to the experience. The emotion then gets triggered in the now after the event has occurred and can trigger physiological responses in the body. And this, it's mind-blowing when this happens, because as I'll explain a bit later in the masterclass, your brain can't determine whether the experience is happening now or in the past. So it happened in a session, like we brought up one of the negative experiences that someone had experienced in the past, and they had the same physical, logical responses in the body as they did back then, because the body and the brain can't determine between the past and the present, and it's being able to feel safe enough to have the space to bring that forward. And it's mind-blowing how it happens. It's phenomenal how you store it in your body and how it can be triggered in the now years later. It's mind-blowing. And even if you don't consciously have a memory, your subconscious stores all your emotions and memories. So you can still get physiological triggers in the now, even if you don't have a conscious memory of it. It's fascinating. And when the trauma is what happened inside of you, this allows you to heal it and recover from it. And that's so powerful because you can't change the past, but you can change how it's stored in the body and the mind. And that's a very powerful thing. And what's a core wound? So a core wound is a belief and a story your brain's made up from past emotional traumatic experiences and or your childhood. Core wounds are deep emotional injuries that arise from experiences of significant loss, betrayal, or trauma, often occurring in childhood or early adolescence, but they can happen at any stage of your life. These wounds can shape a person's belief, behaviors, and relationships well into adulthood, and if left unhealed, they can lead to a lifetime of emotional pain and distress. Core wounds can take many different forms, and each person's experience of them is unique. Excuse me. So you're probably thinking, what did I tell you? Why did I explain these two things for? Because your past trauma and your unhealed core wounds are linked to you experiencing and suffering from depression and anxiety. So depression is living in the past, living in your past negative experiences and still filtering life through your unhealed past negative experiences. And anxiety is living too far into the future, living in the fear, living in the unknown. What if this? What if that? And you're filtering that through your past negative experiences, which I'll go into deeper in how the brain filters the information in a minute. But it all comes back to your core wounds and the trauma that you've gone and you've experienced. And that's what's going on underneath the depression and the anxiety. That's what's wanting to be healed. And when you do that, it's really powerful and it's really freeing because it allows you to release it in a healthy, safe way. We've only got this present moment, but we filter life. We can get stuck filtering life through the past or the future. So some alarming statistics about depression. The global antidepressant drug market size was valued at 15.5 million in 2020 and is projected to reach 21 million by 2030. And that blows my mind. 1 in 6 Australians, so 18% of the populations, were dispensed a mental health related prescription in 2021 and 2022. And in 2020, an antidepressant sold as Zoloft became one of Australia's 10 most commonly prescribed medications for the first time. And since then, prescriptions have continued to increase. And it blows my mind because if this was working, wouldn't it be going down instead of going up? Like I put myself on antidepressants when I was 16 and I got put on Zoloft. And at that time, like I remember going to the doctors and they didn't tell me anything about the side effects of what is going to happen with these drugs. They didn't tell me how to, like, if I wanted to come off them, what I should do, what I would experience if I did decide to come off them. And I just wanted, well, really, I just wanted someone to hear me. I just wanted someone to hold that safe space and like tell me that everything was going to be okay. But I felt like I had no way out. And when I went on them, I felt like a zombie. Literally, like I felt like I was struggling to keep my eyes open. I had no emotions, didn't feel happy, didn't feel sad. I was just like existing. And I had to go back and reduce the dose because I wasn't functioning. And they reduced it, and I was still just, I didn't feel anything. It just made me feel numb like I was feeling before. And I started to do my trials for racing. And at that time I got told you're not allowed to be on antidepressants because my boss found out. I didn't tell anyone. Only 3 people knew. So I just stopped taking them, unaware of side effects that can happen if you do that. So I don't yeah, for me, they weren't an option, and I didn't feel any difference being on them. It just made me feel numb and just a zombie, really. But there's a time and place for them, obviously. And then in US in 2020, 20.3% of adults had received any medical health treatment in the past 12 months, including 16.5 who had taken prescription medication for their mental health. And that would be about 1 in 4. And that's incredible. There's got to be more done to give people help and education around this, so then they can they can look at what's going on deeper, and they can get more support and be more informed about if that is the right path for them. And Dr. Axe quotes, despite 337 million antidepressant prescriptions in 2021, depression rates soar. And according to meta studies, only 40% of people respond to anxiety or depression drug treatment. And of those that do respond, only see on average a 50% improvement in their symptoms. And even some studies show as little as 33% improvement. That's a lot. That's very alarming, and it blows my mind. And the percentage rate of people coming off these medications are very low compared to people that are going on them. So the rate of people going on them is so much higher than the rate of people coming off them. And a recent study review by the Health Organization found there were thousands of studies looking at how to safely start antidepressants, but only just 33 randomized control trials on how to stop them. And a lot of the time you see and you hear people try to come off these medications, and obviously because they haven't healed what was causing the issue in the first place, all of that is still going to be there when they come off their medication, because the medication doesn't do the healing work for you. And people do try to come off them. So if they haven't healed what was going on underneath it or in the first place, all of that still is there, and all of that still surfaces. But then also you can start to have withdrawal symptoms, and you can become dependent on these medications. So then you can experience worse states than before you went on them. So then that kind of keeps people stuck on them, because you hear the doctor say, well, it just goes, in people have reported that they say that they get told, well, see, you do need these medications, you do need these drugs. So they get put back on them, and they end up being on them for life in some instances. But if they were more educated and they healed what was going on underneath all of that, it gives them a lot higher chance to be able to come off them. Incredibly higher chance. So if they wanted you out of the system and they wanted you to get better, wouldn't the rates be going down, not up? If what they're doing was helping, wouldn't the rates be going down instead of up? Who agrees? Yeah, exactly. So doesn't it show that this is so important to do that inner work, to do the deeper work, to heal what's going on underneath them symptoms that were causing you to need to go on that medication in the first place? And that is what needs to happen. But you only get literally 15 minutes with a doctor. You're in and out. They don't have the time to really go deeper with you. And whatever you need in life will control you. So if you need a pill, they will control you. If you need love from someone, it will control you. If you need to be validated in life, you will always seek things to feel validation. So whatever you need in life will control you. And that's when it comes back to doing the healing work to heal your core wounds and your past traumas. So then you know that we've got, everything comes from within. You know you're worthy. You know you're valuable. You know it all comes from within. So then you don't search externally to fill that void, to fill that what's wanting to be filled, because you've been able to heal it. And depression and anxiety isn't a cause, it's an effect. And that's so powerful, because when you think of it like that, it allows you to get curious and to start to take your power back and start the journey of, okay, well, what can I do to heal this? What can I do to help heal this and what's going on underneath it? Because we always want to be at cause, not effect. And if it's at effect, then that's actually a good sign, because it shows you that there's healing there to be done. And that's good, because healing is so powerful and it's much needed. It can be uncomfortable for sure, and we can want to run from it because it can be hard and it can bring up stuff that we don't want to feel, but in doing so, it allows so much freedom, and it's so worth it when you get to the other side. They say on this journey, you have to become friends with the uncomfortable, because that's where the growth happens, and you find yourself in that uncomfortableness so often on this journey. But that's where the growth happens, and that's where the healing happens as well. And some studies show that walking like you're late for 45 minutes 4 times a week is equally effective at 12 weeks and much better at 10 months than antidepressants and synthetic medication. Omega-3s, so you got omega-369 and fatty acids have been shown to be as effective as antidepressant and synthetic medications, as well as saffron, along with not believing everything you think or what your brain tells you. That is very powerful, and that's something that when you start to look at your mind, body, and soul from a holistic point of view, you look at all areas. Okay, what's my diet like? What's my exercise like? What's my sleep like? Because all of this contribute to how you're feeling on a mental and emotional level. And I'll talk about the brain in a second, because it's really important to understand how our brain filters information. So then that's where the true transformation happens, when you can do that work with your subconscious, so you can get your conscious and your subconscious in alignment. But just with this, just with this part, I want to talk more about when we look at you from a holistic point of view. So the medical diagnosis that depression is a chemical imbalance, and there's very, very little evidence that supports that, and studies that support that. They come up with that in the early 1900s, late 1800s, because they wanted to market anti-anxiety and antidepressant medication, and they needed another like they needed something else because what they were using before wasn't really working. So they come up with this new theory, but there's very little evidence to show and support that. So if it does come back to an imbalancement, then let's look at what causes the imbalancement. Okay, let's look at the ways that cause imbalancement in the mind and body. Okay, so what are highs and what are lows? Because an imbalancement is a high and a low, right? So let's look at what contribute to the highs. Sugar, wheat, coffee, alcohol, drugs, tobacco, MSG. MSG excites the nerve cells. And these highs don't last. Like whenever there's a high, there comes a low, and the lows last a lot longer than the highs. So if you get a sugar high, you also get the sugar low. Wheat, it causes inflammation and brain fog. Caffeine, you can get the high and low. You get the crash, so you want another one to pick yourself up. Drugs and tobacco are the same. Like alcohol, you get the hangovers that last for days. So what does the standard diet include, and what's the standard diet made up of? Sugar, caffeine, processed foods. That's all causing the highs and the lows. So that isn't helping. So looking at, okay, well, what's your diet like? How's that contributing to your emotional state? I know when I was like, I used to be addicted to sugar. I'd have cake for breakfast, 3 cans of Pepsi a day. Like literally the cravings were insane. Sugar is more addictive than cocaine. It's like, has such a big impact on how we think, how we feel, and along with physical health as well. So and also, what do these diets lack? You've got to look at, okay, well, what's lacking in this? If you have the highs and the lows and you're consuming a diet full of that, then it lacks omegas. So then that internally affects your brain health. So what could you do to increase your omegas? You could take a supplement. And the 3 foods that are highest in omegas and healthy fats are walnuts, chia seeds, and flax seeds. So that's something that you could incorporate in your diet to help support your body on a holistic level. And then the other thing is oxygen. So we also lack oxygen. And how does your body make oxygen? Through exercise. So being able to move your body on a physical level is so important. But if you're in them low states and you're having sugar and you're having, the standard diet, motivation can be very low. So you see how you get stuck in a spiral and a loop. Just one has an effect, it causes the other to have an effect. And before you know it, you're stuck in this vicious cycle of no motivation, of wanting more sugar, of getting the highs, getting the lows. And it can contribute to you being in that low negative mindset with anxiety and depression as well. So that's the other thing. And then lack of sunshine as well. So getting your vitamin D, sitting outside in the sun, having a cup of tea or a nice warm lemon water, it's really important. So this is what it looks like looking at your body from a holistic point of view as well. And you might be thinking, well, I do have a good diet, Casey. Like, I exercise, I take good supplements, but I'm still suffering, or I'm still struggling. And that's what I'm going to go into next. How it's not just a one pin approach. It's looking at, okay, well, let's heal what's going on at a deeper level, because I always believed heal your gut and you'll heal your mind. But I healed my gut, and I was working with a integrative practitioner, and she said to me, if this, I can give you all the supplements, all the diets, but if this is an emotional thing that's going on, if this is like trauma related stored emotions in the body, it's always going to keep coming up, and you're going to get to like 90%, but then all the emotional stuff is going to surface and it's going to bring that back down. So it really lies in healing everything on an emotional level first. So then your diet, exercise, your daily habits really come into effect and have a lasting result. So these are just a few quotes from some clients. So in 4 years, I've been on antidepressant tablets. I've never felt this relaxed or calm before. And I'm actually excited about the future. I never want this feeling to end. And that was just after her 3rd session. It was incredible. She felt amazing. She still does. But the difference in her was amazing. My depression is gone. It's finally gone. I've carried that my whole life, and I've done it without taking pills. It feels so good. I don't have that constant battle with anxiety or anxious, angry thoughts. There is no frustration or moodiness. I just don't know how to explain it. I've tried so many things over the last 15 years. I spent a lot of time and money trying to find the old me, and after 2 weeks, you have achieved more than anyone. Incredible, the results that people get. So now I want to dive deeper into how the brain filters information before and after a traumatic experience, why you're still being triggered in the now, and how this is contributing to feelings of depression and anxiety. So I'll cover these both pictures. So first of all, what happens is we get 11 million bits of information per second that go through our internal filters, which is our subconscious mind. And the main filters that we filter information and events are past memories, identity, our values, and beliefs. They're the main ones. And once we filter that information, it deletes, distorts, and generalizes that down to 128 bits. And once it does that, we get a focus and a language. We get a physiology, which equals an emotional state, which equals a behavior and a result. So if you're filtering if you're filtering things through your past experiences, so what happens is we've got a negative bias. And normally if you're in a depressed or anxious state, your negative bias is very hardwired, and it will your brain will always pick the negative over the positive. So if your negative bias is hardwired and you're in a negative state like depression or anxiety, it will always filter life through the lens of the negative. So it'll start to stack, your brain does. It'll stack between your past memories, your identity, your values, your belief, and it will make it stronger and stronger and stronger, which as a result puts you in that low negative state. You have a low self-talk, like, oh, last time this happened, I didn't feel good enough, or like that person, they spoke bad about me, and I don't feel loved, and like it has that negative flow on effect, and it just starts to stack. So it really makes everything stronger, and it holds it in such a tighter loop, and you can get stuck then repeating the same things. Does that make sense? Yep, perfect, excellent. So then I want to dive a bit deeper so you can really start to understand, because this is what it all comes back to your mind and your brain. So then other things can, like your diet, your exercise and stuff like that, can really have a positive effect. So the prefrontal cortex, it's located at the front of the brain. It's the rational decision-making area. And for those living with trauma, research shows that the prefrontal cortex is less active. this suppression can slow down the learning of new information that can help you control your fear center. So this also can result in having a harder time overriding the fight, flight, freeze response. And you may feel like you're having a hard time controlling your fear response or struggle with logical thinking. So if you've experienced trauma or you've gone through negative experiences and your brain's locked that in as trauma or a negative experience, then you can get stuck in that fight, flight, freeze. And like I said, like in this one, when emotion's high, logic's low. So that's why they say if your emotions are really high, it's best to practice the pause. It's best to ask for a 5-minute break, because when our emotions high, our logic's low, because the prefrontal cortex switches off and that fear response gets stuck on. So then if your emotions are high, you're not thinking rationally, you can start to be reactive and defensive. And that's why it's really important, if you find yourself in that emotional high reactive state, to practice the pause, to step away for 5 minutes, to do some breathing, so then it can help allow that logic to start to come back in, and then it can allow the rational decision making part of your brain, which is the prefrontal cortex, to come back online. But that can be hard if you're stuck in like that fear, fight, flight, freeze response. And then we've got the amygdala. So this is a almond-shaped mass located in the brain, involved in the fight or flight response, and it plays a role in shaping our emotional reactions to various situations. It becomes more sensitive after a traumatic experience. It's responsible for processing emotions and emotional memories. It stores trauma as a sensory fragment without a rational story, which makes it easily reacted and strengthened in the now. So if you're living with trauma, research shows that your amygdala doesn't recognize the difference between a threat then and a threat now. So when you're reminded of a past experience, it responds exactly as it would if you were experienced the traumatic event for the first time, sending out a rush of stress and stress hormones like cortisol. And when you get triggered, it's like your amygdala sends signals to your body to react strongly, even if the situation might not actually be as serious as your brain thinks, because it can't distinguish the past from the present. And then we've got the hippocampus. So the hippocampus is considered the learning center, including decision-making, planning, reasoning, and problem solving. So research shows that the hippocampus is smaller and less active in people who've experienced trauma, which can create issues around memory and problem solving. This can make it hard for you to distinguish between the past and the present, keeping you in a constant state of hypervigilance or a strong emotional reactivity. It's the part of the brain that processes emotions and memories, and after trauma, stress hormones essentially kill off cells in the hippocampus, making it less effective at processing emotions. And this also makes it hard for the brain to distinguish between the past and the present. So now, these changes to the hippocampus can also contribute to short-term memory loss, but the connection between the hippocampus and the amygdala gets stronger. Like, these two love talking to each other, and essentially this maintains the fear response over time. So do you see how if you have experienced trauma, any type of trauma, Do you see how it can be affecting you in the present moment, and it's contributing to how you're filtering life and how you're filtering information and contributing to the feelings of depression and anxiety? Excellent. I'm glad that that's resonating. And then we've also got neuroplasticity. So neuroplasticity is like your brain's ability to change and adapt throughout your life. Just like how you can build muscles by exercising, your brain can also strengthen and form new connections between its nerve cells called neurons. In simple terms, neuroplasticity is the brain's way of rewiring itself, allowing us to learn, adapt, recover from injury or trauma. And that's what I do with my clients, using the processes, techniques like timeline therapy. I'm able to create new neurological pathways in your brain, to create new neuroplasticity, because we're releasing all the old negative emotions and limiting beliefs from your nervous system and your subconscious, so we can create new neurological pathways and rewire your brain in a fast, effective way, so you don't have to spend years suffering. So how much of your life are you filtering through your past negative experiences or trauma, and as a result, contributing to you living in a state of depression or anxiousness? Because, and that's exactly right. And depression or anxiety is a state that we're living in as a result of how you're filtering information, of how you're downloading the present moment through your internal filters, which is your subconscious. And that's when it's really powerful to be able to get your conscious and your subconscious in alignment, so they're on the right page, so they're like they're aligning and they're working together in harmony, instead of trying to like force and like on different paths. Because when they're on different levels, like two different stations, you get friction and interruption and all that. Like when you put your radio station on the wrong thing, it makes all that really horrible noise. So if you can get it on in alignment, and that's when it's really powerful and true healing happens. And this is why I'm so passionate about finding the root cause and not just dealing with the symptoms, because my mum went to the doctor because she was having symptoms and she just got brushed off. She said she didn't feel heard, she didn't feel seen. They didn't look deeper at what was going on underneath the symptoms. They just said, it's just stress, you'll be right, go home, try to relax and stuff and whatnot. But the symptoms didn't get better. They didn't go away. Yeah, she was dealing with stuff that was causing her stress at the time, but it wasn't the root cause. When she went back a few months later, because it wasn't getting better, they decided to do testing, but it was too late. They found that she had cancer and they'd done surgery, but within 5 months she passed away because it was so aggressive. Where if this is where it comes into, okay, well, these are the symptoms, let's deal with what's going on underneath the symptoms, because your stress is just a symptom. It's what's going on underneath this. And I feel like so many people, you just get a lot of in this society, you just get brushed off, or she's just so emotional, or you're just depressed. Well, really? Or is it just you're feeling your emotions because there's something going on deeper that's been triggered to feel that wants to be healed? And what's going on the outside is a reflection of what's going on the inside. And that's what happened to me. Like I said at the start, your body and your mind can only deal with so much. And we may look whole and healthy, but trauma and stored emotions can fester and manifest like an invisible wound, weakening the body's defense, until it manifests in form of illness, disease, and over years, and time can lead to heart attacks or cancers. It's important when it comes to trapped emotions and trauma to recognize the emotion, feel it in your body, and be able to release it in a safe way instead of holding on and carrying it, because we carry so much from our past that it is exhausting. It's literally exhausting, and our body can only take it for so long. Like IBS has been linked back to stored anger in the body. Fibromyalgia is linked back to stored emotion, stored anger. I had one lady, I was talking to her, and she said that she had an abortion because that was the right thing for her and her partner at the time. And she carried so much guilt and shame from that, and she carried it in her womb. So she developed cancerous cells on her cervix. And it wasn't until she done the healing work and dove deeper to heal that and release it, that them cancerous cells disappeared and she was able to fall pregnant and have a healthy baby. But this is the thing, like, we carry so much from the past that it manifests, and we need to be able to heal it. Otherwise, in turn, it can lead to a very low negative state and cause illnesses. So genetic loads the gun, but environment pulls the trigger. And genetics can turn off and on pending the environment. So if we have got a lot of low negative emotions stored in the body and we're feeling like in a depressed or anxious state, that contributes to turning genes on and off. And stored negative emotions in the body, stored trauma, actually creates the body to be acidic, and that's when disease and stuff can form in that environment. And we're wanting to be able to release that and heal that, so then our body can become alkaline, because that's what we're wanting, our body to be alkaline, not acidic. But if we're holding on to the past and we're thinking negative thoughts and we're always in a really negative state, then it's creating the environment for illness and disease. And this is when it comes back to the modern day approach, which is just addressing the symptoms, not the root cause. And some of the symptoms, you can put it in the chat if you want, like, what are some of the symptoms with that approach? Like drugs, alcohol, synthetic medication, gambling, porn. They're all just dealing with the symptoms, giving you a quick fix, but it's not addressing what's going on at a root cause level. And that's what I work with my clients for, and that's what I'm very passionate with, is looking what's underneath the symptoms so you can heal at a root cause and at a root core level. And this is what it entails. It's the what. So you must understand what makes up all parts of the problem in the nervous system, the possible gain to holding on to the problem, because we can get addicted to holding on to the problem. It can give us actually a negative biochemical hit that is actually making us feel in a negative way, but we get addicted to that because we believe that that's what we are, or that's what we deserve. The limiting beliefs and stories that we have, the fears that are holding you back, because we take on so many fears, and anxiety is fear-driven. The negative emotions and anchors from the past, the strategy in the mind that's being used for the problem, the values of the person and the values conflict, because that's really important if your values align, and the level of consciousness the person's operating from, because these habits and these thoughts, they're so unconscious because they're on repeat every day. So it's being able to bring that to your consciousness so you can start to interrupt that and change it as well. It's the why. Why someone is playing out their unwanted patterns. Where has their unwanted emotions come from? Where has the unwanted behavior come from? Which of the 7 needs were not met for them as a child? And how is that playing out now? And why are they still holding on to the problem? The when and the how. When did the person first take this on? When else did they feel this way? You must know the most effective and efficient subconscious transformation tools so that you can clear and release the negative emotions and limiting beliefs out of the subconscious and nervous system. You can anchor in new powerful states. You embody your new beliefs and align your values with the person that you're becoming. And that's when you get true transformation. So you release all the negative emotions out, you align everything, you align your conscious and your subconscious, and it's life-changing when you do that. And through my release, heal and glow method, we go beyond merely addressing the symptoms, and we are focusing on uncovering and addressing the root causes and healing at a root core level. And that is how you're able to heal from your trauma, heal your core wounds, clear your depression and anxiety. And it's so powerful when you do that. And this is a testimonial from one of my recent clients. I was down and out for years on anxiety, depression, and sleeping tablets, plus drinking. I hardly went to work, felt like giving up, but knew I had the fight in me. I just had to find it. This lady saved me. This is a male as well. I never worked out in my life. Now I'm doing 100 push-ups as soon as I wake up and another step before I go to bed. I'm actually smiling and fully motivated and focused. More or less, guys, don't give up. There's always hope. You just got to find the right help and your inner self. And then for a few years now, I've struggled with my emotions and past traumas in life. It affected my way of living, well-being, and the way I felt about myself. Fear of failure, guilt, and lack of confidence were running my life. Finding and completing Casey's coaching, Release, Heal, and Glow has allowed me to become a whole different person, to be able to look at life different. The program has allowed me to become a whole different person inside and out. The program has affected and changed how other people treat me also, which is amazing. Casey makes everything so comfortable and makes you feel safe. Not only has my outlook on life changed, but I've regained and refreshed my mind and emotions, and I can say I'm in control, confident, and looking towards the future. Thank you, Casey, for giving me my life back with your coaching you've given and shared with me. This lady was at the stage where she was about to go back on her depression medication because she was in she didn't feel like she had any way out, and she was in that real low state again. So she said, what the hell, what have I got to lose? I'm going to do this. And it's changed her life. So good to see. So then you've got 2 options. So the option 1 is you can continue on the path you're doing. If you're happy to go down the modern day approach, if you're happy to keep taking your medication and just to go on with life doing what you're doing, then that's okay. That's everyone's journey is different. You can do, and if you're happy doing it yourself, then that's option 1. The results are unpredicted and limited, and they can feel like you're on the merry-go-round. But if that's the path you choose, then there's nothing wrong with that. I hope you take like all of this information on board and start to get a bit curious. But that's option 1. And then I like to do this as well, because sometimes option 1 feels like this. So I'll give you like 30 seconds to count from and find 1 to 15 in order. How does that feel? What number did you get up to? You can put your number in the chat and how did it feel. I know when I do it, I get real anxious and I go into overwhelm and I'm like, oh my God, time's gonna run out. Where's the next number? And I feel like, oh, it can be hard and it can be overwhelming. You're trying to, you've done that 7, done good. 5, awesome. But that's what it can feel like when we're on our own on this journey. It can feel very overwhelming. You know, we're trying to do this, like we're pulling everything in, trying to do all the things, but getting nowhere. And I feel like when you try to do it on your own, that's what it's like. I saw 1 and 15, then so then you've got option 2. We can continue the journey together so that you can heal your core wounds, break free from your past trauma, be able to clear depression and anxiety using the release, heal, and glow method. That's allowed so many other people to be able to find joy in life again and see the difference in how it feels when we finally heal our past, so we were able to naturally raise our vibration into a healthier state and feel them emotions of joy and happiness and feel safe to experience that as well. And this is what it's like. So if you go from the bottom left to the bottom right, top right, and just go like this, see how it feels and see how far you get in a how does that feel? It feels a bit smoother, doesn't it? And it feels like it just flows. Like that's the difference when you've got someone in your corner holding that space for you, allowing you to feel safe to and to open up and go there. That's the difference. Who knows the next steps for you, who's walked the journey and who can hold that space and know where you will be at each step. And that's the power of having me in your corner. It's a lot easier and you can get the results a lot faster. So that wraps up the masterclass. I hope that you feel, oh, happy faces. That was awesome, lady. Yeah, it's very powerful. And that's what I really aim to do with my clients. I hold that space for you. And I've done my programs. I know every step of the way what you'll be feeling. And I can relate. Like obviously everyone's different, like, but I can relate. So I can help and guide you because I've done all of my programs. And I find that that's a really powerful thing to be able to hold that space for you and to be able to understand what could be coming up for you as well. So I really appreciate you giving the time for this masterclass. I ran over a little bit, but I really wanted to share this information with you because I find it so very valuable and it helps you to start making informed decisions about your emotional well-being and what path you want to choose, because everyone's unique, everyone's on their own journey, but the path that I do with my clients has incredible results as you shared, and that's what I want for everyone. I just want everyone to be able to make the decisions from an empowered, educated space so they can live a life that they want and they don't feel like there's no other option, because there's always another way. We just need to heal. That's the biggest thing that we need to do, is be able to heal so we don't have them labels. So what I'll do is I'll stop the recording now and open it up to the people that are live if they want to share or anything. But the journey is much easier when you're not carrying your past. And when you're not carrying your past and you can release it, that's when the true healing happens and you can really free yourself and let that go. All right. Thank you. And don't be afraid to reach out, message me if you're watching the replay. You can follow me on socials or through my website as well. Let me read.